Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our last session or training session. Uh, Last week we covered Rovius training, and this early we covered our PyCR, that is Persistent Intelligence Cyber Recovery product. And today we are covering our Radia, which is also known as Sentient. And Particularly to this training, we will be actually picking up one feature that is Advanced Patch Manager for you. And we have our expert here, James Longo, which is, we call him as Jem. And he's here to explain all through all. And we also have some demo for you. And more coming from Jim, I would say. So if you have any queries or questions, please feel free to unmute yourself, and we have Jim and other experts in our panel who can help you and answer it. So with this, I would like to invite Jim and to take over the training schedule. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Have a wonderful day.
Hello and welcome to the user training session for a Sentient Advanced Patch Manager. My name is Jim Longo, and I have been working with Patch Manager since version 1.0. And today it is my great pleasure to present this awesome new patch management product that can help secure endpoints in a fast, efficient, reliable, and easy to use platform. Legacy Patch Manager follows the desired state philosophy of Radia, in that only acquired content is introduced into the environment. If a bulletin is not acquired, that bulletin is not visible in reporting and will not be detected by endpoints. While this provides complete control over what content is introduced into the environment, it lacks the detection alert mechanism required to automate the identification and patching of vulnerabilities. Legacy Patch Manager release cycle occurs once a month on Patch Tuesday for a total of 12 times per year. Advanced Patch Manager takes a different approach in that any content in the scan file will automatically expose patch vulnerabilities so action can be taken. This automated approach provides powerful insight and protection to endpoints for third-party software and extends to include more Microsoft products than Legacy Patch Manager. The Advanced Patch Manager release cycle occurs every 4 hours. In just 48 hours, the Advanced Patch Manager scan file matches the release cycle of Microsoft scan file for the entire year. I hope you enjoy this presentation of Advanced Patch Manager, and let's begin with the PowerPoint presentation followed by demonstration videos. And so here first is a persistent disclaimer that I will leave on the screen for a few seconds so that everybody can read through it and acknowledge it. Okay. So Novodyne Patch Manager, Novodyne was the original company that developed the Patch Manager product. And I found this headline on the internet because I remembered, I said, well, you know, I think it turns 20 this year. And I was correct. Actually, next month, Patch Manager turns 20. So it was released in 2003, in June 2003. And so I thought it would be interesting to go through all of the versions, a brief 20-year history of the Sentient Patch Manager, so that we can get an idea of where we came from and where we are today. So version 1 used an ODBC database to store metadata. This version was problematic because any delay in sending and receiving data from the agent to the backend database would result in problems patching endpoints. Version 2 used MS Secure Data Feed, which was a data feed released by Microsoft on Patch Tuesday and processed into XML descriptor files that were required to create patch services. Descriptor files include all logic needed to detect and patch software. This version was fast and efficient. However, there were many mistakes in the metadata each month that needed to be corrected. Eventually, Microsoft disabled the MS Secure data feed. Today, we recreate the MS Secure style content using custom descriptor files, also known as custom XML. to create Radia patch services that can install software, update software, and even deliver a payload when required. Version 3 is the legacy patch manager that we use today, and it's based on the offline scan file WSUSCN2 and uses Windows Update to scan and patch endpoints. This version can use both custom descriptor files and the offline scan file. Version 4, the Advanced Patch Manager, uses a small proprietary scan file that brings powerful third-party and Microsoft product patching to the Sentient product suite. One of our main tasks as IT administrators is to ensure that all systems have the most recent security updates installed. Any major delays in identifying and patching vulnerabilities can expose endpoints to attack. In order to identify and patch third-party products, a third-party patching software is required to ensure security patches are installed on each endpoint. Advanced Patch Management provides value for business continuity and security initiatives with the ability to discover and patch 130 third-party vendors, hundreds of third-party products, including Microsoft's extensive range of product offerings. Advanced Patch Manager brings convenience, efficiency, reliability, and security to endpoints. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the Legacy Patch Manager and Advanced Patch Manager. So Legacy is limited to Microsoft products. The vulnerability scan of endpoints takes 5 to 15 minutes in most cases. The WSUSCN2 is released once a month. So zero-day and out-of-band patches must be patched using custom descriptor files. Any delay in the release of the WSUSCN2 means a delay in patching endpoints. And we actually see this a few times a year, and we saw it this month where Microsoft needed to make a correction, and therefore the CAB file was delayed by 2 days. The WSUSCN2 is nearly 800 megabytes, and it grows larger each month. WSUSCN2 is loaded into Windows Update, into the Windows Update agent on the endpoint, which consumes system resources. Windows Update agent needs to be updated periodically to function correctly. Some older operating systems encounter storage limit errors until a new Windows Update agent is released by Microsoft. And we're actually seeing that today on Windows 10 1607 LTSB, which is I believe the oldest Windows 10 operating system in production. Microsoft has not updated the Windows Update agent on that platform for over a year. So until they update Windows Update agent, we may encounter storage limit errors on that operating system. When there is a change in the WSUSCN2 metadata, code changes may be needed to parse the metadata. And we are also seeing an issue with Windows 11 where there was a metadata change. And now we need to make code changes on our end to process the WSUSCN2 correctly. Bulletins must be acquired before they can detect and patch a vulnerability. Only acquired bulletins show up in reporting. Legacy Patch Manager is, limited, right? And Advanced Patch Manager really extends Microsoft patching capabilities, but it also includes 130 third-party vendors, including more Microsoft products than exist in the Legacy Patch Manager. Vulnerability scan of endpoints completes in just a couple of minutes. Scan file is updated every 4 hours and is automatically downloaded to the Sentient Patch Advanced domain. No surprise metadata changes to hold up the patching of endpoints. The scan file is only 25 megabytes and doesn't grow larger each month. There's no reliance on the WSUSCN2 file, so no large payload or resource utilization loading the WSUSCN2 into Windows Update agent. The storage limit error is not a concern. And here's a key difference between Legacy and Advanced Patch Manager, in that the bulletins do not need to be acquired to be visible in reporting. All bulletins show up in reporting regardless of the acquired status of the bulletin. And that did present some challenges to me while I was doing my testing, because I've been conditioned to the legacy patch manager's release cycle of once a month. And so while I was doing my testing, I would patch, and we're going to see this in my demonstration videos, I would patch, for instance, Notepad++, and then I would go and I'd patch a bunch of, distribute a bunch of other patches, and I came back and Notepad++ was updated automatically. So with Legacy Patch Manager, I have to acquire a bulletin in order for it to be visible in reporting, where Advanced Patch Manager, that occurs automatically and it occurs every 4 hours. Some statistics. 86% of reported vulnerabilities come from third-party applications. 84% of vulnerabilities had patches available on the day of disclosure. And that's pretty impressive, right? For third-party applications we're talking about here, this is not Microsoft, right? Microsoft will release a 0-day patch when there is a critical vulnerability. However, third-party patches are different, where they will release their patches on the same day the vulnerability is exposed. So here is the National Vulnerability Database dashboard showing some statistics. So the CVEs received in process just in 1 week, this was updated on May 17th, 273 in just 1 week. Analyzed 252, modified 41, and then modified and reanalyzed 58. And you can see as time goes on just how large these CVEs get. Right, the number is just incredible. If you look at the total received. And over here, we can see the difference between the CVSS version 2 and version 3, where there is a slightly different mechanism here, where the version 3 now has a critical category, and we could see that many of the mediums here have moved into the high category, and then this the version 3 has a critical category. So we now have 20,000 critical CVEs. So isn't patching a solved problem? Well, although patching has been a solved problem for many years, even decades, a lot of organizations struggle with it. While patching Windows OS on endpoints monthly is indeed a solved problem, in the darkest woods of IT, patching third-party applications on endpoints remains a significant challenge for many organizations. And then at the bottom here, you can see, and then you have Java, a security disaster in a league of its own. And that's interesting because during my testing here in the last 2 weeks, I had a very old version of Java installed on my test machines, and I could not patch them. So even if I tried to update them manually, they would fail. So obviously, if something fails manually, there is no application that's going to magically make that update. So I actually had to uninstall Java from my machines, and now I have to go back and reinstall a newer version of Java so that it can be patched. So there's a cutoff, obviously, for Java. If you have a very old Java, you have to actually uninstall it before you install a newer Java or update it. So the need for application patching. So here we see top application vulnerabilities. We can see the browsers take up the 4 top spots. And we have Oracle, we have a couple of more Mozillas, we have a couple of more Oracles. Here's the JREs, the JDKs. And so the top application vulnerabilities is what Advanced Patch Manager will patch. It's not going to patch every single third-party application because there's just too many of them. But it takes the top offenders and it patches those applications. Here we can see some statistics for some of new products, and it's pretty incredible. In 2022, we had over 20,000 new products and new vendors, right? So every year, this is just going to get larger and larger. And over here, this is a very interesting graph in that we see from 16 to 17, a huge jump. We've actually doubled in the number of CVEs in 1 year. And it continues to climb. And then from 21 to 22, it went up 5,000. And so I imagine as AI enters infrastructures and environments that this is just going to keep climbing higher and higher. So a growing number of security vulnerabilities are reported every year. Vulnerabilities on software and applications are susceptible to cyber attacks. 57% of cyber attack victims stated that applying a patch would have prevented the attack. That's an incredible statistic if you think about it. We hear about this all the time. Companies who don't patch are vulnerable to attack, and they get attacked, and then it costs them millions of dollars to fix the damage done by the attack. And that could have been prevented had they just patched their systems. So it's very important, obviously, to keep up on patching your systems. Application patching is required to repair a vulnerability. I'm sorry, we're getting some background noise. Can you please mute? Thank you. Application patching is required to repair a vulnerability or flaw identified after an application or software is installed. Application patching has become an important piece in reducing security risk. And then there is compliance. I know many organizations are mandated by regulatory bodies to maintain a certain level of compliance. Application patching is necessary for adhering to these compliance standards. Very true. So cannot afford to manually patch third-party applications, right? It's difficult to patch. Third-party patching is hard. Every third-party application patch is a custom one-off that takes hours to research, set up, test, and deploy. Every third-party application has different deploy mechanism. There are just too many applications. Third-party patches outnumber Microsoft patches by a huge number. There are multiple vendors, applications, versions, and platforms. And every third-party application has a different and not fixed release cycle. So with Legacy Patch Manager, we do have the ability to use our custom XMLs to create custom patch services. So we can patch nearly any application. However, it's a manual process, right? It takes hours to research, set up, test, and deploy a custom bulletin. So it's not practical to use custom bulletins to patch every third-party application. It's used to supplement patching. So if we find a patch or a vulnerability, we can create a custom bulletin to patch that vulnerability, but it's really just a one-off, one or two applications. It's not meant to patch hundreds of third-party applications. And that's what is so great about this advanced patch manager is it does that automatically. It's an automated patching mechanism. So advanced patch manager extends the patch management capabilities beyond the OS patching. Drill down reports with filters for audit and compliance purposes. Plugs into existing Radia deployments using existing architecture. No new infrastructure is investment, no new learning curve. Existing policy engine. Download patches and updates directly from OEM approved repositories. Decrease security risks and service performance by controlling when and where patches are applied. Prepare for audits and help demonstrate compliance with out-of-the-box reports and dashboard views. Scalable and easy-to-use interface with no scripting or professional services needed. So reduce application security risks, increase security to reduce downtime, reduce the application patching gap, patch hundreds of vulnerable applications, delete or republish updates, zero-touch deployments, no need for end-user intervention. You can maximize your investment. Expand Sentient Configuration Manager to include third-party application patching. Easy integration into the Sentient console. It is indeed a plug and play. Leverage existing Sentient workflows. Decrease vulnerability on Windows with increased Windows product scanning. So this advanced patching product includes more Windows products than the offline scan file. Office 365, for instance, Windows Defender, right? That's just a couple of examples of what is available in Advanced Patch Manager that is not available in Legacy Patch Manager without a custom bulletin. Significantly reduce IT effort and cost. Accelerate patching from months to minutes. Patch with confidence. Create and deploy more updates faster. Automate mundane tasks to maximize administrator productivity. No additional consulting is required. So here is a list of vendors. I'll leave this up there for a few seconds. So I believe this is all of the vendors that are supported by our advanced patch management product. And you can see it's quite significant. Let's move on to a sample of third-party products. So this is just a small sample of probably a third of the products that are available in the scan file. We can see we have Windows in here, right? All of the Windows operating systems and third-party applications as well. So here are some video demonstrations of Advanced Patch Manager that I took while I was testing. And what's interesting here is that on May 10th, I did not even have an environment for Advanced Patch Manager. So I actually installed a core server, and Advanced Patch Manager on May 10th. And on May 11th, I started to patch. And so what we're going to see here are some videos that I selected for this demonstration that are going to show when I started patching, and then we're going to end with a screenshot of what my environment looks like today. And it's very impressive. This is an amazing product. And in 2 weeks, I've been able to do more than I've probably done in the past 20 years with Patch Manager. So let's start with a video here showing the acquisition of Notepad++ 8.5.2. And so this is going to show the machine is vulnerable to Notepad, and it's going to acquire Notepad, and we're going to then distribute and patch the machine for Notepad++. So we log in and go to the Operations tab. And there will be a new Advanced Patch Management tab. And there are 4 subcategories. And the first thing we do is enter into the Preferences tab. And in the Preferences tab, we have a sync metadata. So the first thing we do when we enter the Preferences tab is sync metadata. And this is going to bring down all of the files needed for Advanced Patch Manager and any updates that are required. And up here, we can see the status. And I do use some film trickery here to speed things up. This is not in real time. It does not, however, take much time. So next, we select patches released from. So this is going to limit what is acquired to whatever has been published by the vendor on or after that date. So if you try to acquire a patch that was published before this date, you won't be able to acquire it. You will have to come in here and reset this date. Now next, a very important selection here is default. Many of these patches are not tagged with a native language. They are tagged as default. So if you do not select default, you may not be able to acquire content, because if that content is tagged with a default language, you need to select default in order to see it and acquire it. And so here I'm just going to unselect Notepad and use the search function so you can see that you can limit the vendors, because there are quite a few in there. And sometimes when you're trying to find something, it might take you time. So you definitely want to use the search function. So now we can move over to start acquisition, and we could see we have multiple versions of Notepad++. Now in this version, the default setting is uh, only the most recent patch can be installed. There are switches that we can apply that will allow you to install superseded patches. So for instance, I can go in and say, well, I want to install Notepad++ 7. I don't want to install 8. And you can do that. And for this demo, I am only using the most recent patches and not superseded patches. So here we can see I've already acquired it, but I'm going to reacquire it for this demo. And keep in mind that this is 8.5.2. Now, if we scroll to the right, we can see that this is indeed applicable to the environment. And that's important because some products are not applicable. And therefore, you do not want to acquire products that are not applicable. So it's important to always check applicability. And we can see here also that the language is indeed default. It is not the native language that I had selected. So had I not selected default, I would not see this patch and I could not acquire it. So we have to enter an acquisition name. And then start the acquisition. And now we can move over to the acquisition history. And I want you to pay attention to the job IDs. And I am only at 14. And so before I started filming or recording, I did some testing here and I already had some content. But keep in mind that the dates here, I just had started on the 11th and I'm only up to the 15th here and I'm only up to job ID 14. And so now we can click on the job name and we can see we are running the acquisition and here we have a success. So we have a successful acquisition for Notepad 852. And we can now enter the patch library to see see the content that we have acquired, and Notepad++ is right there. Now we can move over to reporting and we can check the status of our test machine. Trixie is the machine that we're going to be focusing on for the next few videos. So we have advanced patch reporting, device status. And so I want you to look at the not patched numbers here for all of these machines because these are going to change over time. And by the time we get to the last screenshot, a few of these are going to show 0. So Trixie is right now at 30 patches missing. Jasmine at 16, Webulette at 33, and Bon is at 15. And so in this shot here, we can see that Notepad++ 852 is indeed missing from Trixie. And you can see all of these other patches that are missing. Now I do skip ahead. I don't show all of the patching of Trixie. I do have a video that's 16 minutes long showing how I've patched Trixie from missing 30 patches all the way to 0. But I'm going to skip, a few of those videos for time purposes. But just keep in mind that these are all going to be patched in my next video. And so now we can move over to the CSDB editor and assign the Notepad++ to the patch advanced policy. And you can see here, this is the content that I've acquired up to this point. I think now I am up to 137 acquired bulletins. So over that time, I've acquired 137 bulletins, and I think I've patched well over 100 patches by the end of the videos. So now we're going to assign Notepad++ over to Patch Advanced. So now Trixie, when she connects, she will see that she needs it. And I just use batch files here for time purposes. And when you run a Patch Advanced Connect, you're going to use dname is equal to patch ADV. And so here comes the scan file. And I do speed things up. Again, this is not in real time. However, this only takes a minute or two when you're scanning for advanced patch. And here comes Notepad++ 8.5.2. And there is the finalized patch installation. So it's going to send that data back to the database. So here we can see that in the not patched report, Notepad++ is no longer present. And if we remove not patched, we can see that Notepad++ is now installed on Trixie. Now, the next video, we're going to see a lot of these have turned green because I did not include all of the patching of Trixie. However, in the next video, we're going to see that while I was doing my testing, Notepad++ had updated to 8.5.3. So while it's green here, in my next video, it turns back to red. And that's because we automatically update the scan file every 4 hours. So every 4 hours, you could get a change in your environment. Whereas Legacy Patch Manager, you have to acquire content once a month before things change. So that it's fast and furious, right? Advanced Patch Manager changes every 4 hours. So as your systems connect, it's going to get that new scan file and it's going to rescan, and you could get vulnerabilities that you have just patched because they come down automatically. So in this next video, we're going to see Notepad++, and you can see all of the green here, right? Because I did not include all of the video, but look how many patches. Now here in this column, when you see NA, that means that this was patched using a different mechanism. Advanced Patch Manager did not patch it. So when you see content here, that means Advanced Patch Manager had patched it, and you could see just how much patching I've done on this machine. So I fast forward, and then at the bottom here, we started with missing 30, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I had to uninstall Java on this machine because I could not patch Java. And here we can see that Notepad++, it turned red again because now it requires 8.5.3. And so we're going to have to now reacquire Notepad++, and we're going to see that in this video, and redeploy it so that Notepad++ turns back to a patched status. And there goes my Java. However, again, Java was not installing correctly. And then I tried to install it, tried to install that patch manually, and it still failed. So I just had to uninstall it from the system. And there's an update to Microsoft Teams. And we can see at the bottom here, Notepad++ is requires 8.5.3. And so now we're going to go back into operations and we're going to run a new acquisition to get that new patch. So I'm going to go back down to Notepad++ 8 64-bit, select that product. And we can see that this has not been acquired yet, obviously, because it just came down with a new scan file. And you can see I'm already up to 30 acquisitions. And now you can see how much content I actually have acquired. And there's my new Notepad++. So now we have to grab the new Notepad++ and drag it onto policy so that now when Trixie connects, she will see the update. And once again, update Notepad++. And we can see a sea of green here. And at the very bottom, Java is no longer present because I had uninstalled it. Notepad++ is right here. So it's now back to green because we have updated it to 8.5.3. And Trixie now only has a single patch remaining for VMware 12. And now we're just going to do a quick patching of VM12 so that we can see Trixie is 100% patched. So there's reboot pending. So I have to reboot Trixie, and then when she comes out of reboot, she will automatically run a advanced patch connect and change to green. And now Trixie is 100% patched. So in this video here, I'm going to highlight some of the search features. So this is just going to show search features and acquisition success and an acquisition failure. So CrowdStrike is going to fail, and we're going to show that failure in this video. And we can see here that only one is applicable, so that's the only one that we want to select. And we can see we're up to 37 acquisitions. So next up is CrowdStrike. And this CrowdStrike is going to fail because the URL is no longer active. It gives a 404 when we try to visit that URL. So that's going to be addressed by the scan file needs to be corrected, and CrowdStrike needs to correct that URL. So we can see that CrowdStrike acquisition has failed. And so now we're going to go into the log folder, right? So in the RCA Patch Manager Advanced Logs, we're going to go into the radpatch.log. And we can see here, the problem is that it's unable to download the payload. And the downloading URL is right under that. So we can copy the URL and test it in a browser. And we can see here that it's 404 not found, and I'm going to retest it. And the URL is not active, so we cannot acquire that content. And then the last example here is for Microsoft Silverlight. And Microsoft, I believe, has the most products. So it's very important to use the search function here with Microsoft. We can see Microsoft has 82 products. And so I've just selected every one of them. And so I'm going to go to the next tab. I'm not going to acquire all of them, but I don't want to look through them for the product. So here I can unselect the vendors, and then I can use the search feature for the product name, and then it brings up Silverlight. So I'm only down to 4 bulletins. And out of those 4 bulletins, I can scroll right and see that I only have one that is applicable. And so that is the only one that's going to be acquired. And that was a success. So in my next shot here, we can see that the only failure that I had in 40 jobs, I'm now up over 50 jobs, I only had one failure, and that was CrowdStrike, and that was only because the URL is not functioning correctly. It's giving a 404. Everything else completed without any issues. So in this video, I have mentioned our custom XMLs a couple of times, and so I thought I would share this video here because it really highlights a couple of things. One, Legacy Patch Manager's desired state, and that only acquired bulletins will show up in reporting. And we can see here, I've only acquired one bulletin for this test. So Legacy Patch Manager only knows about the bulletin because I've acquired it. Whereas Advanced Patch Manager has many bulletins. I didn't have to acquire them, right? So that's the difference between the desired state of Legacy Patch Manager and I guess we could say the undesirable state of Advanced Patch Manager. So here we're going to show that Advanced Patch Manager is a patching mechanism. So if Notepad++ does not exist on a system, obviously it cannot patch it. So we can actually use Legacy Patch Manager's custom XML as a control bulletin, where we can create a custom patch service to install Notepad++ if it does not exist. And many customers use this. So I create many custom bulletins for customers. And one of the main requests is that if 7-zip or Notepad++ doesn't exist, we want to install it. And so that's the benefit of using Legacy Patch Manager's custom XML. And so in this video, we're going to show that. We're going to install Notepad++ with Legacy, and then we're going to patch it using Advanced Patch Manager. And so here we can see the custom bulletin is going to install Notepad++ 781. So here we're going to use the legacy patch MGR and assign the Notepad++ installation bulletin to the legacy patch MGR domain. And now run a legacy patch connect using dname is equal to patch. It will detect that Notepad++ is indeed missing and install Notepad++. And there goes Notepad++ 781. And so now we can see that Notepad++ is installed on Jasmine. Now when we run a patch advanced connect on Jasmine, it's going to update 781. And we can see here that Jasmine only has these patches are missing. And Notepad++ doesn't exist here because patch advanced didn't detect Notepad++ as installed. However, on the next connect, it will now detect that Notepad++ is installed and then update it. And here's our patch advanced policy with our Notepad++ 8.5.3. And now we can run our patch advanced connect with dname is equal to patch advanced. And now Notepad++ is detected and updated. And here we can see that Notepad++ is now indeed patched on Jasmine. Now in my next video, this is a 60-second time lapse. And I brought Pumpkin online, and she is missing 73 patches. Incredible, because she has Legacy Office installed. And so you can see here, this is a time lapse. So just keep in mind the not patched numbers here, 73, 26, 18, 25, and 15. And so in 60 seconds, we're going to see this transform. And this took me a couple of days to film this. So you can see I did a significant amount of patching in just a couple of days. And so before we started this call, I went in and took a snapshot of my environment, and look at those numbers. Incredible. When you consider the fact that I didn't even have an infrastructure set up until May 10th, and I was able to patch well over 100 patches and almost completely patch every one of my systems. That has never happened in the 20 years that I've been using Patch Manager. So this is an absolutely amazing product. And I look forward to working with everybody to implement this, because it's absolutely necessary to have this product in your environment. And with that, we will open up for questions and answers. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, Dipali, over to you.
Hey Jim, it was a wonderful presentation and thanks for the demo video. It was great to see the product coming right away. So I'm sure questions must be lingering around, and if you really think after a while you want to test it, please do that. We'll be able to help you. And just ping me and James. You already have, Jim already have an email ID of his and mine. So please drop in your queries. We'll be there to address it and help you out. And happy to help. Be it this product or any other product or any other solution you're looking for. So we are right here to help you out. So with this note, I really would like to thank to take out all the time, all the participants, and be part of this training. And thank you, Jim. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
So if you don't have any queries, we can close early.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So thank you and have a lovely day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.